Hello, my Lucans. Welcome to a new episode of ants-mourning, the podcast that was a newsletter first, and it's still pretty much a newsletter. In fact, it's been a while since I last recorded one of these, but hello. I hope you enjoy this episode titled April 2024, A Poem a Day. I think it was last week or maybe longer. I sent a compilation of all the poems I wrote for April 2024 in Spanish, and now it's the turn of the that's one of my cats, sorry, he's asking for attention. Okay, so now you have every poem I've written in English for April 2024 on your inbox, or you can just go to my Substack and have a read at them. There are a lot. I think they are 16, so I don't expect you to read them on one sitting, but hey, they are there, so you do you. So backtracking a bit, I've been doing April for, and that's my neighbor's dog. Today we have a super noisy episode. I'm sorry. I'll just keep going. I think you can also hear the doves. Okay. I'll just keep going. Yes. So April is the US National Poetry Month, and many poets celebrate and share by sharing poetry prompts, and many authors just use them and share them on social media, and it's pretty cool. Community activity to do while you're writing poems, which is often kind of solitary. So one of those poets who shares prompts on April is Savannah Brown. She's one of my favorite authors ever, and her prompts are always, I don't know, a perfect balance between open and very. So I always use hers. For the first two years, I think, yes, I wrote each day of April a poem in Spanish, and then translated it to English, or the other way around. So basically, for 30 days I would be writing 2 poems a day, and it was just editions. I just wrote a poem a day in whichever language the prompt asked of me, as I used to say, and I don't translate usually those because I'm trying to, do the challenge, but not burn myself out to a golden crisp. Also, I know many of the people subscribed to my newsletter or who listen to my podcast don't have social media, which is where I've been sharing all the poems I've been writing for Scabril, and I respect people not using social media. And since they haven't been seeing these pieces, I just wanted them to have them all in a place, and so they can check them out whenever. For now, I'm not just going to read for you aloud the 16 or so poems in English I wrote in last April, but I'm going to write 2, so you have a little taster, so you are enticed maybe to read the rest on the written version. Okay, what am I going to read? I should have chosen, right? But I haven't. So let's do it very quickly. Oh, I know what I'm going to read. It's the last one I wrote in English. So it was the one corresponding to day 27, and the prompt was The Absolute Limit. So I shared a poem I wrote, I think it was the previous day, at Neil's circle, Neil Hilborn's writing circle. In case you don't know, but if you've been listening or reading the smallest while, you know I love Neil Hilborn, and I've been writing in his circle for, I think, 3 years. We just get together on Wednesday night, share, and it's very beautiful. So yeah, I wrote this one after E.E. Cummings, his poem that was titled Somewhere I Have Never Traveled, Gladly Beyond, and my I Have Never Traveled, Gladly Beyond. And my poem also starts that way. I used Neil's prompt, which was perfect for the Savannah Brown's prompt, The Absolute Limit. So Neil asked us to write about somewhere we've never been to, maybe some imaginary place where everything is better. So yeah, here it is. Somewhere I have never traveled, gladly beyond. Somewhere I have never traveled, gladly beyond any I needed, and it doesn't sharpen as soon as I turn around. There is a river nearby, and it always harbors some species of migratory bird by day, fireflies by night. The clear song of the current never flooding my synapses. Spring comes never flooding my synapses. Spring comes barefoot, the mosses antennae rising up to meet him. The cold retreats not in fear or resignation, but softly ready to hibernate. And the flowers and the flowers and the desire, which only makes them more beautiful. They are all mouth, all offering to the bees and moths and bats, a palette of longing always fitting in its frenzy. That sweet chaos calls me to, louder than the sun. I'll be there also later for the stars. I'll finally learn the constellations and their names. They won't be different from the ones I've always looked at, but here they show up every night, stronger than smoke and offending lights, far, far from the voices pouring over the landscapes I know. Not even my misery echoes in these valleys. Breathing is not just a necessity, gladly beyond, somewhere I have never traveled. So yeah, I had fun writing this one. I don't usually write about imaginary things, so having Neil's little nuts to do so, it was really beautiful. Yeah, and lastly, I'm going to read I wrote for day 11, and the prompt was posture. I used it on my poem on a political sense, political posture. This one is shorter and angrier, so beware. My only sense of self starts with refusal. Part 3. I only know what I am when the world tries to consume me. The yaws of unfair law and hints around me. It's inhale a warning. Each day its stomach rumbling louder. When and if someday the teeth come down on my spine, I can only hope my skin is too soft to give the system any satisfaction upon breaking. My marrow too cloy to go down without crystallizing the feaster inside out. My vertebrae would rather dissolve in bile than bend before any authority. I only aspire to be the most inedible fruit of the garden. So yeah, that's one of my anti-systemic violence poems. I'm happy with that too. So I think that's pretty much it. If you check them out, rest of them, I mean, you will find poems about current events. The fucking genocide, the situation in Tigray, the bloop. That's not current events, but well, it's always there, right? That weird rambling at the bottom of the sea. I also wrote about workers' rights, the right to write about things I'm not living. Also discovering I'm very likely neurospicy, as the youngsters say. Yeah, very varied and I think entertaining, if I may say so myself. So yeah, thank you without further ado to my subscribers. There are a few new ones, so hello, I'm happy you're here. Also to my unofficial Patreon of the Arts, Nacho, my unofficial beta reader, Raul, and extra thank yous to my Patreons, Larry, Jorge, Rufi, Lucia, Cat Dufo, Ari, Manuel, and Victor, because they are such stunning and giving humans. You can also join me on Patreon at patreon.com/Miriam Navarro Prieto to read all my work in progress poems. See my full drawing sessions without the Instagram censorship. Every time I post a nude drawing, I have to cover the nipples. It's pretty silly, and I don't have to do that on Patreon. So, and some other things, pretty random but alluring. I have access to all that for €1 or $150 a month, because tier democracy, everyone have access to everything. If you haven't subscribed to my Substack, do so, please. Go to substack.com/Miriam Navarro Prieto. Or you can also subscribe to the podcast version at Spotify for podcasters, or YouTube, or Spotify on itself, and have a look at my previous issues if you haven't been here for long and would like to see what kind of thing I talk about here, because this is kind of a not typical ants-mourning. For example, you can have a look at one of my previous newsletter issues titled Mean Asparagus, and in that one I share a poem about asparagus and familiar, and I think you can have a sense with that about what this platform is. So yeah, I hope we see/read each other very soon. Yeah, hasta pronto.